Okay, in the last unit, we talked about using a storyboard bin to create a rough cut of a movie and to put the movie in the order that you would like as a director. This particular unit, you'll open it up and you'll notice that the storyboard's already made and there's already pieces in the timeline. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to open up the project and I'm going to go to Lesson 5 and I'm going to pull up Lesson 5.3. And that'll take a quick second. I got a quick rendering issue with my computer, but it's not causing a problem right now. Few minutes and that'll pop up, and what we're going to do is we're going to do some editing in this particular piece. You'll notice here's the storyboard bin, and they've already created it, and they kind of put the files in the order that they thought would make a good story. But your project lessons is still here too. You'll also notice there's an audio folder here now in the project lesson. Let me just expand this whole thing so you can see. There's your storyboard. They copied these into the storyboard. You'll also notice there's another sequence here called completed, which I'll show you in a quick second. So that's what's in our project panel. You go into the timeline and you'll see here are the two sequences. There's this sequence one that's got some stuff in it, and there's this completed piece that's got some stuff in it. So let me slide over to the completed real quick, and I'm going to pull this back and I'm going to play this for you. So I'm going to look up here. Let me expand this, and you'll see the program window. I'm going to hit the play button, kind of see what it does.
You have been judged guilty.
So you see all the
turning your heels
cuts
on the face of the old gods. Your sorcery ends here. Ends tonight.
All right, so you get the idea that's kind of what the completed piece should look like. If I move back to sequence 1, however, and I press play here, watch what happens. Audio starts automatically.
You have been judged guilty.
The door sound already hits, and the door hasn't even opened yet.
Gods. Your sorcery ends here.
So obviously way off here. So we got to make some edits down here to this video clip in order to match up with what's going on with the audio. It's a great example of how movies are made, and typically most people would think that you're capturing video and audio all at the same time and you don't have to play with it much. But if you look down at the way this thing was put together, you've got all these separate audio clips that have to move along. And you'll notice obviously the audio clips don't necessarily tie along with the video clips. So pretty interesting idea. I know it's a little foreign to most people, but we're going to go ahead and start looking at how we trim clips in a timeline. I'm going to focus primarily on this first clip, Medieval Hero 1. I'm not quite sure where your view status is. Don't expand it too big, but basically have the vision so you can see all of the first clip in there, which is actually the second clip in the piece, because you've got the Photoshop beginning. So you'll notice I moved the timeline. You can scrub through. The other ways you can move the timeline, the CTI, is to hit the arrow keys, which basically move the timeline one frame at a time. And that's a great piece to have. I'm using the arrows on the keyboard, which will move it left to the right one frame at a time, which is the smallest increment you can move. The other thing I want to point out here real quick, in the program window, you've got two sets of numbers. You got this left set of numbers and you got the right set of numbers. The left set of numbers in the yellow is identifying where the timeline, the CTI, is in the whole video clip. The right set of numbers is the total duration of the whole entire timeline, which includes all of the video clips associated with it. We're going to use these timeline structures to edit these pieces. So all right, here we go. We're going to take this first one. Obviously, the clip that comes in with you've got the director's board up in front, not going to be a part of the movie. So we need to clip some off the front end of the clip. If you move your cursor into the clip itself, right in between where the Photoshop file and the clip starts, you'll notice you'll get a right-facing kind of bracket. If I move it over the Photoshop file, let me expand this a little bit bigger so you can see. If I move it over the Photoshop file, you'll get a left-facing bracket. So this is the edit tool. What I'm going to do is go into the into the second clip. What I don't want you to do is this little yellow, that's an opacity line. If your cursor is in the opacity line, it's going to change to a different type of tool. You want to make sure you're on the right facing tool. And what I want to do is, let me check my edit list here. I want to cut off the front couple of seconds here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on this time indicator as I'm dragging on the front end. So I'm going to hold down my mouse button and I'm going to start dragging, and you'll notice some numbers will change on that indicator. And I want to move left end of the clip to, I want to get all the way to when it says roughly about 12:16. So it's going to take a little bit of good mouse skills. I let go of the clip, and it basically what I've just done is cut that clip by this amount. You'll notice there'll be a gray area left over once you're done the cut. And if I move the timeline indicator in there, let me play it again, you'll see what that gray indicates. And it's
You have been
basically
judged guilty.
it's basically just black space in there. So I got to get rid of that. So how do we delete that space? So I'm going to right click in there, and there's only one command that comes up when you right click, and that's called a ripple delete. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it slides the whole entire clip over to the left. So we get rid of that blank space. Okay, that's one type of edit. The second type of edit basically combines the last two steps that I just used. I'm going to go to the end of this clip, and I'm going to pull in on the right hand of the clip, which is going to shorten the clip. This clip is way too long. Notice I focused on the time indicator when I was using the left side of the clip, or when I was editing the left side of the clip. In this particular case, I'm going to look at the duration piece over here. When I start dragging, you'll see it gives me the duration of the entire clip. So what I want to do is we're going to cut a good chunk of this right out, and I am going to go all the way to 112, which will make the clip 1 second in its entirety. And if you remember the number sequence for this, went a little too far, 112. If you remember the number sequence for this, you've got frames, and then your pieces of seconds and minutes as they move through. You notice I have the gap again. Let me minimize this so we can zoom out, I should say. So what I just did was make an edit, and I created that gap. And again, I could get rid of that gap, but let me go back to its original. Instead of using this edit tool, now I'm going to go down below, and there's something called a ripple edit tool, which looks like a double-headed arrow with a line in between. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And watch what happens when I make this edit again. You may think that the tool itself is the same as what I'd used before, but you'll notice the arrowheads are bolded, which means it is a different tool, ripple edit. Watch what happens when I re-edit this clip again. I'm going to slide back. Remember what I did? I wanted to make it 112, right? So I go to 112. Watch what happens in between the clips where there was blank space left there before. I go ahead and let go, and immediately the blank space is gone. So that's what a ripple edit does. It's a combination of cutting the clip and then getting rid of the extra space in between the clip. This is the tool that you're probably going to use the most, because very rarely are you going to want to add blank space in between clips. The clips are going to want to flow from one to the other. So this is a very powerful tool. You're going to use this a ton. The last thing I want to bring up in this particular lesson is the snap idea. The snap guide will allow you to move clips in. So if I move this other clip in, you'll notice it snaps right to the end of the clip. Okay, very important tool. If that snap is off, you could run the risk of overlaying these clips and getting rid of one piece, or leaving a gap like that if you're not really sure. The other thing that the snap tool does is once I put my CTI in a certain place, you can actually snap clips to the CTI as well. So I start moving, and you'll see it snap to the CTI. So that's a good way to do it. So as you start getting familiar with moving the CTI frame by frame, as I click on the CTI and then start moving it frame by frame by frame, you can actually snap to the CTI, which will help you. You'll notice the movement as I move the CTI. So you can get the CTI exactly where you want it to be on the edit, and then snap your clips to the CTI, and it's a great way to get those exact editing pieces. Don't worry about saving this project. We're going to close this down and start up another one in the next lesson anyway, so you can just go ahead and close it down and don't save.